Right now, at 6, Portland Public Schools staring down a $50 million budget hole.
We're seeing the product of decades of underinvestment coming to a head.
The plan on the table that has the teachers union already pointing fingers.
This is a failure on the part of the legislature.
Plus, new and promising numbers when it comes to downtown Portland.
Well, that's not 100%, and we're not all the way there. This is huge progress.
And later,
the night that I knew they were born, seeing where we are now, I couldn't have pictured a better beginning/ending to this story.
What the merger of two of Oregon's longest-serving adoption agencies means for kids in the foster care system.
Good evening, and first at 6, alarm bells for some employees in Oregon's biggest school district as Portland Public releases a proposal on how to balance its budget, including some significant job reductions. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. Portland Public is trying to close a projected $50 million shortfall for this next school year.
Let's bring in Celine Stevens live outside Harriet Tubman Middle School with the details. Celine?
David and Christine. So there's actually a budget engagement session that just kicked off here at this middle school at 6 p.m. as well as over at McDaniel High School so people can learn more about these changes. Now, some of these changes include a reduction of hundreds of positions that interact directly with students, as well as blending classrooms, which some say could hurt students.
The impact on students is they become anonymous.
Angela Bonilla is the president of the Portland Association of Teachers. She says she's furious about Portland Public Schools' preliminary recommendations to address their $50 million general fund shortfall for the 2026 to 2027 school year.
PPS and Portland voters spend a whole bunch of money in levies and bonds to support our schools, and we're still having to make these cuts.
According to the district, ongoing challenges in enrollment, rising costs, and loss of one-time funding has contributed to the shortfall.
This is a failure on the part of the legislature in funding us appropriately.
Those proposed reductions include making enrollment-based reductions to classrooms, counselors, and more, which could mean bigger class sizes and less resources for students. They also include combining different grades, increasing multilingual learning staffing model ratios, reducing coaches, and more, with their central office and elementary schools seeing the biggest cuts.
Let's say you come in as a student who gets identified as having special needs in kindergarten. For first grade, you're going to be in a class with first and second grade students and a teacher trying to figure out how to teach every student at their level. This is only going to create more of a deficit for our students.
According to the district, this will result in a reduction of 288 full-time equivalent positions.
If we're cutting 200 to 300 full-time equivalencies or FTEs, that's going to be more than 200 or 300 educators impacted in their work life. So even though it's not 300 educators fully laid off, it could be anywhere from 200 to 300 or more educators doing much less for our students overall.
So there will be more budget engagement sessions tomorrow at 6 p.m. You can find more details on specifics on where on the district's website. As for the next steps, the superintendent's proposed budget will come out at the end of April and the finalized decision will come out in June. Now, I asked the district for an interview for more information about all this, but they declined and referred back to those engagement sessions. Back to you.
Celine Stevens reporting live tonight from North Portland. Thank you, Celine.
Now at 6, authorities are following up on dozens upon dozens of tips as they try to track down the man they say shot and injured 2 officers Monday night in Northeast Portland.
Our John Adams is live tonight with what he heard from Portland police this afternoon. John.
Yeah, Christine and David, PPB detectives are working right now to try to determine who that suspect is and where they might be right now. PPB put out a request to the public on Tuesday for tips into what people may know about the incident and for people to check their Ring or security cameras, hoping to catch a glimpse of the suspect or what happened. Sergeant Kevin Allen told us the Bureau has received close to 100 tips and says detectives are following up on each and every one of those leads. The incident happened near Northeast 17th and Clackamas after officers responded to a call of someone threatening another person with a knife. When the officers arrived, the suspect opened fire fire, hitting both of the officers. The suspect is described as a white male in his mid-30s with facial hair. He was believed to be armed with a knife and a handgun and was seen with a black backpack and a green shopping bag.
Somebody out there that's willing to use deadly force against our officers, we're concerned. All of us are. We've really taken this case to heart.
Now, both of the officers were transported to a local hospital after the incident. One of them was released on Tuesday. The other is still currently in the hospital, but thankfully is in stable condition at this time. Back to you.
Appreciate the update and follow-up. Thank you, John.
Well, to a live look outside on this Wednesday evening with temperatures once again dropping on yet another chilly but dry night ahead.
Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino joining us now. Matt, are we going to be hovering around the freezing point again tonight?
Yeah, we'll drop below freezing in much of the area tonight. Temperatures are dropping quickly now, already down to 37 in Portland, even with the east wind. The east winds are weakening, but they're still very strong. The western part of the gorge and in East County, say to the east of roughly I-205. Portland dropped to 31 this morning, Salem 25, Eugene 22, but up in Vancouver, second morning in a row dropped to 22. So for that reason, there is a cold weather advisory out, but right now it's beautiful out, 38 degrees in Salem, the winds are light there. That cold weather advisory covering much of the inland valleys here and Clark County, but notice the carve out over Multnomah County. So Portland proper, not in the advisory at all because our temperatures won't drop below 25. These are only for areas that drop below 25 degrees for about 4 hours or so this morning. But even with that, it's just a part of the day. The rest of the day it warms up and we're in the 40s and even 50s. Now the east wind continues to blow. Troutdale 21, but the gusts have been around 65 miles an hour east of there at Corbett and Crown Point. They continue to roll. See the fog and low clouds keeping it cold over in the Columbia Basin as well. So we have another cold night on the way tonight, a couple of them actually. But it's going to stay dry through the weekend, and really there's no big changes on the way. We've had cold mornings, several in a row. We're going to have several more, guys.
Yeah, we're starting to get used to it. Okay, thanks, Matt.
In your headlines now, one of the people shot by a Border Patrol agent in Portland just had his bail denied. In new court documents, the government is saying for the first time that Luis Nino Moncada used his truck to hit an agent as well as repeatedly ram an empty vehicle. Newly released photos show the damage to that vehicle, a black sedan there. Defense attorneys, however, say Nino Moncada was in, quote, abject terror, end quote, when surrounded by 6 Border Patrol vehicles. They argue the government has not shown that he intended to assault an officer and implied he was just trying to get away.
A jury convicted a former Camas Washougal firefighter of first and second degree murder for killing his wife a year ago. Kevin West was arrested back in March. He initially told investigators his wife Marcy had a seizure and stopped breathing. Prosecutors say West was having an affair and planned to end things with his wife or move out of their home by January 8th, the day she died. An autopsy showed Marcy died of asphyxia and blunt trauma to the neck. Her death was ruled a homicide. West will be sentenced next month.
In Gresham, fire investigators are working to figure out what caused an early morning apartment complex fire that displaced people in 8 units. One resident was also injured. Crews say the flames started on the first floor at the Waverly Gardens complex, then spread to the second, fanned by gusty winds.
East County fires are very different as far as fire behavior. With the wind, the fire is going to move quicker. It's going to be wind powered, so it's going to be moved with the wind.
Well, one firefighter nearly fell through a deck after a board gave way, but thankfully was able to catch himself. The Red Cross is helping displaced families.
In Toledo, Oregon, out in Lincoln County, crews are working to get things cleaned up after a train derailment this morning. A spokesperson for Portland and Western Railroad tells us 3 of its locomotives came off the tracks while crossing a trestle. The good news here, no crew members were hurt, and the train was not carrying hazardous material. The bridge was damaged and will need to be inspected.
All right, to some upbeat news when it comes to the future of downtown Portland. We like a little good news here.
Of course we do, and we are talking about a spike in foot traffic because last year, downtown apparently saw 2 million more pedestrian visitors than the year before.
Let's bring in Joe Ranieri live in downtown Portland to put it into perspective. Joe?
Hey, good evening, you guys. Now, this isn't, you're probably wondering, how do they come up with these numbers? Are they just clicking as people walk through? No, they're using an AI software system to determine who's coming and going into downtown Portland. In the last year, they saw more than 32 million pedestrians come through downtown Portland. That's a number they haven't seen in years. Downtown Portland has seen its highs and lows over the last several years. Here's another high for the Rose City. There's more foot traffic.
What's more exciting about this year's number is the continued upward trajectory, the growth in visitor foot traffic being substantial and even peaking over 2019 numbers.
A new report from Downtown Portland Clean and Safe found more than 32 million pedestrians visited downtown last year.
We're just about 85% of what we used to be, and while that's not 100% and we're not all the way there, this is huge progress.
Andrew Hone, who's the president and CEO of Portland Metro Chamber, says this past summer was the busiest for foot traffic since before the pandemic. Governor Tina Kotek said this data tells us what anyone who has visited downtown lately already knows. Portland has a renewed vibrance and vitality. So how are these numbers tracked? The city uses an app called Placer.ai, which can track your location through your phone.
So we really draw a line around the core of downtown, including Old Town, and we're able to figure out who's coming and going, how long they're staying here, and gives us a sense of the sort of activities they're participating in.
Seeing 2 million more people along these streets from 2024 is clearly something to celebrate, but Hone wants to see things get better with office workers.
These offices are at historic vacancy rates since Portland had an office market. And we are at 50% of what we used to be in terms of office foot traffic.
He's hoping the next big win will be when these vacant buildings are full again. Down to downtown Portland. Now, Hone, who you just heard from, also said they're seeing a big boom on weekends over the last year. He said some levels surpass what it was like before the pandemic in 2019. He also credits that to a lot of culture events and holiday events that have been taking place over the last couple of months as well. Back to you guys.
More people downtown. That's what we want to hear. Thank you, Joe. And speaking of bringing people downtown, Broadway in Portland announced which shows will be coming for the Keller for the season. Things kick off in July with Hell's Kitchen. It's an award-winning musical from Alicia Keys. Also this season, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Water for Elephants, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and The Sound of Music, among others. Yeah, lots of good ones there. Subscription renewals for Broadway and Portland members began today, with subscriptions for new members available later this spring.
Okay, quick piece of trivia. I played Captain Von Trapp when I was 14 in our 8th grade musical. I'm not going to sing for you.
Oh, man.
All right, let's talk about true excellence. Oregon is once again well represented when it comes to the top culinary awards in the U.S. This year's James Beard semifinalists include Le Pigeon for Outstanding Restaurant, Scotch Lodge for Bar, Coquine for Wine or Beverage Program, and Joel Gunderson at Heavenly Creatures for Outstanding Professional in Beverage Service. That's a long category. 7 Oregon chefs were nominated for Best Chef in the Northwest and Pacific, including those at Cafe Ollie, Maurice, and Gato Gato. The list will be narrowed to the top 5 in March, with the awards given out in June.